right, here we go. Another Square Dance Callers Talking tonight. I've got a gentleman. He's way up the East Coast. We're going to talk about it tonight. Tonight I have Matt McGovern. How are you, sir?
I'm pretty well. How you doing, Charlie?
Very good, Matt. Like I said, we've met a couple that we met at Ken's school. We've been in a couple conventions in the past, but really excited about getting to talk to you tonight. We haven't had a chance to really sit down and talk just one-on-one. So I want to talk about you tonight. So you're Matt McGovern. Where are you currently?
So I live in Ludlow, Massachusetts, which is Western Mass, kind of the middle of the state almost.
Okay. Now, have you lived there your whole life?
I have, yep. So I grew up in Ludlow. I actually, so I grew up 4 streets away from where I'm living now. That was my parents' house, and then I bought my grandmother's house back in 2016. I've been here ever since. So
that's awesome. Good to know. So originally from that area. I was looking at your website, and like I say, I've seen a little bit of stuff that you've done on YouTube and things like that. So when did you start dancing?
And so, well, just so a little bit of history there. So I started, I went to my first square dance back in 2004, and that was with my grandmother. It was at the Swingles Square Dance Club, which was in West Springfield, Mass, probably about 20 minutes from my house. She started dancing the year prior, although my grandparents had actually danced back in the 60s, so years and years ago. And then so I went to that first dance, and I think probably I really enjoyed it. I had a good time. I watched her, and I just looked like a lot of fun to me. So that was, I think, in May or the spring of 2004. And then I decided I want to try this out. I want to take lessons. And so did that with the same club. It was actually kind of interesting because they were really hesitant to let me take lessons at that point. It was kind of an older club, and the management at that point said, well, how is a 11-year-old kid going to take square dance lessons, right? How is he going to do his homework? How's he going to get here on a Wednesday night or whatever at 7 o'clock? So they had to have a bunch of discussions or whatever, and eventually they passed it through. I started that September, and then I graduated in that April, the following April of 2005.
Okay. So how long did you dance before you decided to start calling?
So I danced. I graduated in April. I danced at kind of several different places throughout, between that time and the time I started calling. One of the places that really stuck out, and I'm still there today, is the Hayloft Steppers in Sturbridge.
Yep.
So of course they we own that barn, and it's just square dancing, round dancing, line dancing, that kind of stuff. But so I started there when I was, I guess, 12, because it was that August. So I graduated April, went there in August, and I really liked that place because there was a lot of kids there at that time. It was just a family environment, and I really had fun there. So danced there, anyways, danced from April to I think January of 2006, and I was actually at a a round dance lesson, completely different location in Connecticut. And there was a cuer there that was teaching round dancing. His name was Steve Garret. He also called. I don't think he calls or cues anymore. But he had heard, through the grapevine, I guess, from my grandmother and a few other people, that I enjoyed singing as a kid. And he said, well, if you enjoy singing, why don't you, give calling a shot? So I said, I was, didn't want to at first. I was like, no. So I eventually he convinced me to, and that January I was records back then, and I think the first I did a singing call at the round dance lesson, and it was Fisherman's Luck, of course, was the first,
gosh,
the first singing call that I did, and I think I probably cranked it up to like whatever 48 RPMs or whatever back then. I'm sure they loved it. But yeah, that was my first exposure, calling.
that is not an easy one to start with, buddy. Great.
No, not at all.
Gosh, Fisherman's Luck. Come on. I've tried it a few times, and I am not good at that song. It's just if I put more work, maybe. But man, for your first one, great goodness.
It's like the auctioneer. It's just a lot of words and whatever. For whatever reason, I chose that one. But yeah, that was kind of my first time calling.
So after that, you decided you want to stick with it. I mean, so when you start putting in work, and because obviously the singing comes for most people to start with. There's a few that are out there that the choreographer people. But when did you start really getting into, hey, I got to start doing pattern, doing things like that? Tell me about it.
So yeah, and exactly. So a lot of it, I just wanted to sing, right? So I would go to do these guest tips at all these different clubs. The callers would say, "Hey, I'd let this 12-year-old kid come up and call or whatever," and I'd go up there with my records and I would sing, whatever singing calls that I did back then. And I think I did that probably through the summer of that year. And then I'd started going to Ken Bertucci had a club in Northampton, Mass at that time, which was the NoHo Squares. And of course, Ken's a caller
Yeah,
teacher,
oh,
right?
yeah.
So he'd get me up there and he would say, "All right, do a tip." And of course, I'd be like, "Oh, awesome! I'm gonna do 2 singing calls." And he'd be like, "No, you're not gonna do 2 singing calls." He's like, "Do some patterns, write something down, practice, whatever." And so that's kind of how I really got started was through him because I'd go there weekly and he would let me do a tip and he would whatever I'd critique me or just give me advice or pointers. And eventually he said, because they had just started the Northeast Caller School a couple years prior, back in 2004. So it was 2006 at that point. He said, "Why don't you come to the Caller School?" It was up in Manchester, New Hampshire, at that time. And I said, "Okay." He let me, I was able to go for free because I was
Wow.
12.
Yeah.
And so I did that, and I think I don't remember the exact instructors that were there. I think it was Ed Foote. I think Andy Shore might have been there that year, and possibly some other people. But I really had a good time. I learned a lot, of course. A lot of it was just like, as for any caller that goes there, it's information overload, especially as a 12-year-old kid.
Sure.
You're
Oh
gonna learn all
gosh,
these
yeah.
formations and stuff like that. And of course, I just want to sing, right? So I'm like, what is this? But yeah, that's kind of where I really got started, and after that, it just kind of took off. I mean, there were at that time a lot of clubs in this area, and they were looking for callers, so I was hired at different things. Um, I had put on a dance, I think that year in that summer at the Hayloft with a buddy of mine at that time, and yeah, I just kind of people got to know me.
Nice.
My
Okay.
name went out there. So.
Well, as far as like I say, as far as mentors and instructors and stuff like that, I mean, Ken Ratusi, you don't get much better than that. I mean, he's top level instructor just in and of itself, and a great guy. I met
Yeah.
him. That probably the first caller school I went to was one of Ken's when he came to Atlanta, and I did. Gosh, I think it was 2 years ago. We were up there for the Northeast Caller School, which is a
Mhm.
phenomenal school, by the way. And you help out with that too, don't you?
I do, yeah. So when the mill around up in Manchester is where it initially was held from 2004, I think, to 2015 was the last year up there. And then it was the mill around kind of closed suddenly, which was a hall in Manchester for those that don't know. And we were looking. I think it was that summer or something. And I think I was in the car with Sue Ruggiero, who's his partner,
Mhm.
and we were like, "Where are we going to hold the school? We have all these students register. What's going to happen?" So I think immediately we said, "Well, the Hayloft. It has to be at the Hayloft, right? I mean, that's just it's so close to us. It's just a great hall." And of course, we had to figure out the hotels in the area and such. But that's kind of how I got started. Is that they just I was a member of the Hayloft. I was on the executive board, so we got in, and Ken needed the help, so I kind of to this day assist in doing whatever he needs done, right? Just
Uh,
making sure the halls are set up.
it's a
At the end.
phenomenal hall, and if it's as much an advertisement as anything else, if you want to even go to a caller school, there's plenty out there, and there's a lot of really good ones. But that where y'all have it at the Hayloft with Northeast Caller School, it's just a phenomenal place. The little after parties every night afterwards, and I love the hotel, that we stay at over there in Sturbridge.
Yeah.
So that is a good time, man. Oh, all right. Well, back more about you. I know the caller school is huge, and so Ken Ratusi was one of your mentors. Anybody else stick out? Just helping you out.
I mean, along the way, there's just been so many. I mean, Steve Garret, who like I said, no longer calls or cues, but really got me into wanting to do it, and he would assist me. Every week I would go to those round dance lessons. He would say, "All right, let's do another tip," and then I would go to Ken's and I would do another tip there. And Bill Mager, who is another caller, in Connecticut, was calling for Hayloft at that time. So sometimes I would get up and do tips with him or at those lessons. So just a lot of the New England callers, just growing up with them, they were always eager to say, "Hey, come up and try it," because we callers. So But I think over the years, most consistently has been Ken. I mean, he lives 20 minutes from my house, so it's we hang out a lot, and it's easy to learn from him. So it's just
That's great. Now, so you started with Fisherman's Luck. What's some of your some of the songs you like now for singing stuff?
Oh boy. There's a lot that I like. I like the slow love songs. I tend to gravitate towards those. Summertime on Rhythm, it's an older song. I really like The Rose on Rhythm is one of the
Yeah,
songs that I like. Almost anything Royal, of course, is
sure.
great music.
That's good.
You know, Cabaret was always one of my favorites to do. I think it's an old quadrille record. But a lot of the newer stuff too. Simple Man, which I think is on
Simple Man is Crest.
the Crest. Yeah, so
Crest and Act, man. It's Scott's.
yeah,
But yeah, I love Simple Man. Yeah.
yeah, and a lot of it's nice to have a good repertoire of songs to do. But yeah, I've always just a wide range of music that I enjoy doing. But yeah, I won't say I do Fisherman's Luck too much anymore. It's just too fast, and we'll do it at fast track.
Now, how high a level do you dance at, and do you call that?
So I danced through C1. I dabbled in C2 for a while. We don't really have a lot of lessons for higher levels challenge in our area, but dance through C1 and I call through E2.
Okay.
Yep.
Do you have a favorite level, or you just?
I really I enjoy different levels for different reasons. So I like calling through plus because it kind of gives you that entertainment portion of it where you can put on a show, right? You can do your patter, you can do your singing calls, you can be a funny guy or whatever, and just like be the entertainer.
Yeah.
But the advanced portion of it I really enjoy because of the choreography. I enjoy the challenge. I enjoy the complexity of it. So I don't know. I don't think I have a favorite level. But I like them for different reasons.
Okay. Do you have a favorite call out of all of them?
Probably Cast a Shadow.
That's the Shadow. Good one.
On advanced. It's funny because like when I first started learning advanced, that was one of the hardest calls that I just couldn't get because there's like so many pieces to it. And now it's just one of my favorites. So.
Well, you're obviously one of the younger guys in the calling world. So, what do you outside of square dance music? What do you like to listen to?
I listen to a lot of different stuff, pop music, some country music, and that goes from all ranges from like 1960s, like old time country to modern stuff.
Right.
I go line dance. I do line dancing a lot, so you hear a lot of the newer country stuff there. Some some rock and kind of everything. That's anything but like hard rock.
Okay.
Not my thing.
So, what do you like to do besides square dance calling?
A lot of my life is square dancing, but I live with my girlfriend. My girlfriend and I like to go out to dinners and go on trips and stuff and travel. I would say that I really enjoy working with computers. That's what I do for my day job. So that's kind of my other hobby. I kind of grew up doing that. So that's fun.
Okay. So you're like an IT guy, or what do you do with computers?
Yeah, I'm a systems administrator.
Okay.
So
I probably have to buy a new laptop at some point. My screen's starting to mess up on me here and there, and I don't know anything about it. So it's just easier to buy one because all I use it for is this and square dancing. So
yeah, it's kind of funny because you work in IT, but like a lot of people think like the IT workers like they work in IT and they go home and they do all this computer stuff. It's like kind of opposite. It's like the last thing I want to do is look at a computer at 5 o'clock. I want to go call or dance or something. But
you like TV or movies more? You think? What do you like to do?
Definitely more of a TV guy.
TV guy. What's some of your favorite TV shows or series out there?
I've always liked Dynasty from like the 80s.
Wow, good call.
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome.
But a lot of different things. what was one I watched recently that was really good? It was I can't think of the name of it. Anyway, it was well, yeah, Ted was one of the recent ones I watched.
Okay.
Um, but Yellowstone is really good.
Yeah, let's go through that. Yep.
Ozark was what I was trying to think of.
Ozark's phenomenal. Yep, I agree with that for sure. I finished that one back when it was still just on regular, and that was good stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, have you done a lot of traveling with the square dancing or not yet?
Just kind of to national conventions. So my first one was really close because it was in Springfield
Sure.
back in 2015. So that was really convenient and over 1,000 dancers. It was cool. But then I went to Cincinnati, Atlanta, and Jackson, other nationals that I went to. So that was fun. I'd love to go overseas someday to like Germany or Europe area and dance over there. I've heard it's different, faster. But
I've heard that more specific with the wording. You can't kind of get out there and throw some of the slang words in there that we take for granted.
yeah.
I forget. Somebody was telling me when they were in Germany, they kept having issues or Japan, because they would say cinderback Dixie style.
Mm-hmm.
And after the squares kept breaking down, they finally said that we don't know what cinderback means. And, it's something that we take for granted. And it's really a little helping hint for some of the people that are a little weaker when you say, put her in the lead Dixie style, something so you know what the girl's doing.
Yeah,
so
the helping
very
they
specific.
They know swing through. That's it. Not
Yeah.
else.
Now, we talked about the Hayloft where you are, but are there any other venues you've called at or anything that stands out that you really liked, something unique about or anything?
As far as I can think, well, the mill around was a really cool place up in Manchester. It was in an old mill building that they had remodeled and they turned into a dance hall. Unfortunately, I think that closed in 2015. And I haven't called down there, but I've danced down in Strawberry Square, down it's Plant City, Florida.
Down in Florida. Oh, so you called down there? Or you've only danced down there?
I've only danced down there, but kind of a cool place. Kind of reminds me of the Hayloft, right, where it's like its own dance hall.
Very nice. Yeah, the Hayloft was just phenomenal. Y'all still have the issue with the noise with the neighbors?
Yeah. Unfortunately, we do have that issue still, but we try our best to keep them happy. So
I got you. I do remember that part of it.
yeah, it was nice. It was really nice years prior to because it was just woods, right? It was the Hayloft barn, and I think there was one house a little bit down the road, but they didn't have all these other houses around, so you could stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning dancing and whatever. But now we have to be a little more cohesive or coherent of what we're doing. So.
Yeah. So you want to go overseas? What else are you looking to do with your calling? I mean, you have your own club now. Is that yours at the Hayloft?
Well, Hayloft is a club-run club, but at the moment, I am calling for them. I do Wednesday night mainstream lessons and Sunday night advanced lessons. So I do quite a bit there. I for a long time I did call a lot around New England and New York and New Jersey. I still do some. But I work full time. I live with my girlfriend, so it's I kind of try to balance the time of doing those things.
Sure.
And when you're going out on a Friday night to go call 3 hours away in New Jersey and come back at 2 o'clock in the morning, it kind of gets a little old sometimes.
Sure.
So I tend to stay a little more local these days. But
Well, when the further you get down the road and you get closer to retirement, which I'm sure you've got several years before that comes along, there's a little bit more traveling that you can get done.
Yeah.
Do you have anything coming up? Are you going to Wisconsin for the national convention?
I don't know if I'll be at Wisconsin yet. Haven't made that decision, but we do have our New England Square Dance Convention, which is going to be up in Portland, Maine this year.
Okay.
So we have I think about 300 to 400 people that go up to there. All the New England callers get to call, and cuers as well. And it's always a good time. So I enjoy the New England convention every April.
I made it up that way yet. At some point, I'll get up that way. I'm trying to hit all the conventions at some point.
Yeah.
So do you round dance also?
Yep, I do. I round dance probably proficiently through phase 4, but have dabbled in like the higher level stuff.
Nice. Okay. And your
Wouldn't say I'm
girlfriend,
great at it.
does your girlfriend dance any at all? Square dance?
She does not at the moment, so I'm hoping to get her in lessons soon.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
we'll see, but she'll come to dances with me and hang out, and she has fun. So
Let's see. I tell you at some point, and I only bring this up because I just got off of it. If you ever get the opportunity, of course, they are leaving out of Boston sometimes. A square dance cruise, or just have you ever been on just a regular cruise?
I've been on 3 regular cruises, and then actually no, 2 regular cruises and 1 square dance cruise.
Oh, so you have been on one. Okay, very nice.
Yeah, so back in I think 2016, Ken and I ran one.
Okay.
The callers, yeah. So it was fun. It wasn't a huge crowd, not like the big
Yeah,
one that they.
the one that I was on. That's
But yeah, it was nice. We went to Bermuda, and that's it's a lovely place, and did some square dancing. And I had some friends that went on the cruise too, so we got to hang out and
awesome.
have some fun. So yeah,
That was the best part of it, and that's kind of like the same when you went to the Northeast Caller School. You know, after the dance is over, everybody's right there, and they're pretty much all either staying at the hotel or whatever. So you
yeah,
get to hang out and talk to everybody, and the same thing. You're on the boat, you know, so you're kind of looking forward to some of the dances to get over with, just so you can get on to the rest of the stuff you're going to be doing that night.
yeah. I
So,
know. It was because we didn't have that many dancers, so it was kind of like sometimes you're hunting down people to try to make a square and stuff like that. But
okay, okay.
it's so fun.
No, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But my wife and I started cruising probably 5 or 6 years ago, just regular cruises. And then when this one came up, I couldn't pass that up. That was a good time.
Yeah. No, my grandparents always did cruises back in the 70s and 80s, and back then the cruise ships were a lot smaller than they are now. I mean, now
Oh
it's like
gosh, yeah.
you're going on a shopping mall on the water, but
We were on the Wonder, and that thing was gigantic. It's bigger than any building I've ever seen.
yeah, it's
Um,
crazy.
I always ask everybody. So favorite movies. If you had to choose, and these are right in your wheelhouse age wise, probably because there are some of the people I talk to. They're like, I've never heard of that movie, never heard of it, you know.
Sure.
But Titanic or Poseidon Adventure.
Oh, gee, well, those are 2 different ones than what I've heard in the podcast
I know
previously.
I'm going to bring those up, but I was thinking about the cruise a little
Um,
earlier, is why those two came to my mind.
Probably Titanic. It's funny you mentioned Titanic, right? Because back I grew up in the VHS era, right? And I remember like my grandmother would babysit my cousins, and at their house they had the VHS set of the Titanic movie, and of course the part 1 and part 2 were on 2 separate tapes, right? So I always wanted to watch part 2
Yep.
because that was the action and the ship sinking and all this stuff, and part 1 was just the love story, and I didn't want to watch
Yep.
that stuff.
My son was that way. He would only watch the second tape. That's all he
Right.
wanted to watch, right when the boat's starting to go down.
That's funny.
Oh my gosh. Footloose or Dirty Dancing? Kevin Bacon Footloose, that is.
I don't know. I mean, probably Footloose because I like the music
Sure.
and I know the line dance to it, so that's kind of
Oh,
probably why.
nice. Okay. Okay. I've wanted to learn the line dance for that, just so when I do the one night parties, I'm getting more of those here lately for whatever reason. And
Sure.
everybody, when they first call me and say, "Hey, we want to have a square dance. We don't know how to square dance. We want you to come and do a square dance." And I said, "Well, first of all, let's be clear. Square dancing is not line dancing, because some people that's in their head, and I
Right.
don't want them to be under that. But and they understand. Most people understand that, and I've done them that way. But there's always that one was like, if I had 1 or 2 line dances where I could throw it in, if it's 2 hours or so.
Yeah.
So maybe the next time we get together, you can walk me through the Footloose, and I can kind of figure that out.
Yeah, that's probably
Braveheart or Gladiator?
which what was that?
Braveheart or Gladiator?
I'm not a movie guy. I can't say I know either. So
Okay, okay. I just watched Braveheart again last night for about the 10,000th time. So
nice.
okay, and before I ask you this one, high school growing up, favorite sport? Do you have one?
I really wasn't a sports guy either, to be honest with you. I mean, most of my weekends were
Okay.
square dance. Right?
Okay. No, I got you. I got you. So
Yeah.
I always ask Field of Dreams or Bull Durham. And so if you're not a huge sports fan, it'd probably be Field of Dreams if you saw it, just because it's a great movie. Bull Durham.
Yeah. I watch the Super Bowl every year because you kind of
Okay.
have to.
Awesome. Okay.
My town that I grew up with it's a lot of Portuguese people, so soccer was is huge,
Oh,
and
okay. Gotcha.
so it's kind of hard to get away from that.
Okay. Yeah. I did not know. I did not. I didn't. I did not know there was a lot of Portuguese people in that area. Okay.
Yeah.
And of course, being where you are, it's hard not to be a football fan. With what New England was for so long. They're not anymore. Not currently.
Yeah.
No.
Now it's Taylor Swift's football game, right?
One more on the movies. Goodfellas or Casino?
Probably Goodfellas.
Goodfellas. Okay. Gotcha. Very nice. So now, do you get a lot of the one night parties or anything up in that area?
Yeah, I've done quite a few of the one night parties. A lot of times we have a lot of 4-H groups that are around here, so I'll get hired by 4-H groups. I've done some weddings in the past, which were fun to do for some of my friends. So some of that stuff's fun. I'm actually doing one tomorrow night for a Girl Scout group, for a friend of mine out in Connecticut. So that's going to be fun. Hopefully, there's a lot of kids there, but so sometimes when you have younger kids, it's hard to get them to pay attention and square up. But we've done this one in the past and it was fun.
Oh, nice.
So
Okay.
yeah, I enjoy the fun nights, and beginner nights for lessons too. It's just it's kind of great to get everybody in there and teach them how to square dance, and then hopefully they stay, and to see them to the end, to the mainstream level is just kind of cool for
That's
me.
awesome. Yeah, that the hardest part of the one night when it's the younger groups is getting them started. Once you get them started, you're okay for the most part, I've noticed. But it's just getting them to square up and all that.
Yeah,
Now,
find a partner and get in a square. It's like
yeah,
chaos sometimes, but it helps if you have some people there that kind of know what they're
yeah,
doing. Still
that
able.
does help.
Yeah.
And I kind of got away. When I first started doing these podcasts, I would ask certain things. And so let me ask you this: for a regular, if you were coming to do a dance at a club that you haven't been to very often, what's your process for kind of programming the dance?
Um, you kind of gotta. It's If there's a theme, obviously you want to take a look at that. Kind of take a look at the history of the club. Ask how many squares they have and stuff. Ask the club management. Are they fast dancers? Are they slower dancers? They're older, whatever. So kind of get as much information as you can beforehand. And then I kind of like to kind of go by like somewhat of a standard program, right? So you come in, you gauge the crowd, you see where they're at, you see what their level's at, start a little bit. And then don't wow them right at first with any singing calls or great choreography, because if they're not good dancers and they can't dance fast, the last thing you want to do is go right in there and kill them, right? Because then they're gonna hate you the rest of the night.
Yep.
But then it kind of depends from there as far as programming goes. Do some fast songs, to get that energy level up, and then like right in the middle. Sometimes I'll give them a couple singing calls, the middle or right after announcements or right before announcements. And then, typically I do like to end off the night on a couple singing calls, one fast one slow one, just to say goodnight. So it's kind of my typical program.
Very nice. Okay. Yeah, I've heard some different ideas about it, and they're all kind of the same, but there's some differences. And the main thing is the last one you want to do is something that somebody will walk out humming to themselves,
Yes.
a song or something like that, whether it's something they know or it's just something that's catchy. And you can't be all the way, because I love to go fast and loud. And, I've had a few people pull me to the side when I first got in. They were like, man, you got to back off a little bit, from tip 1 to tip 6 or 7, however many you can get in. They're just like, they can't be at a level 10 all night, because I'm just like, jambalaya is, let's go. I had to get the word jambalaya in. That's an inside joke right now. That I have to say jambalaya in every podcast. So, well, Matt, it has been a pleasure, brother. Like I was telling you earlier, I like to go for about 30 to 45 minutes most times. And so I look forward. I don't know if I'm going to get back up. I was hoping to get back up for the Northeast College School this year. It doesn't look like I'm going to be able to because I've got a couple other commitments I got to tend to.
Yeah, no.
And I
Well,
won't get to see you at the Nationals, but I certainly hope to run up on you at some point.
yeah, well, if you happen to be able to, or if anybody else watching the podcast, October during that collar school is a great time to come up to New England. I mean, the leaves are just really, really nice at this time of year. The weather's great. Not only do we have the collar school, but a week later we have the Autumn Leaves Festival, which we held in Brattleboro. We got some really good callers. Bill Harrison will be up. So it's kind of a nice to make a kind of a month out of dancing up here in New England.
Oh, very nice. Well, I'm definitely going to get back up there. Probably not this year, unfortunately. So we got a few things setting up, but maybe next year.
I hope so. Yeah.
So looking forward to it, Matt. It's been a pleasure, brother. It's awesome talking to you again.
You as well.
And hopefully I'll see you down the road. I'm not sure where, but at some point we'll cross paths and we can sit down and have another talk.
Sounds good. Thanks, Charlie. Appreciate
Matt,
it.
it's great talking to you, buddy. We'll see you around.
Well. Take care.
4 ladies chained over and back, I still feel 25 most of the time. The